Hi everyone, this is Catching Up with the Nerds with your host, Tom, David, James, Sarah, and JC. This is a podcast about a random group of individuals coming together from various multiverses to talk about our nerdy passions and share those nerdy passions with you.
Oh wow, that was on brand and topical, because look, I'm from Earth 625 and I crossed around here. My name is France Arnal.
Wow.
I make portals and I travel across.
Can you be the same
multiverses.
person if you have a different name?
There's only one me. Yeah.
Oh, Nexus being.
Nexus being, or as it is known in Lost, the constant. I'm the constant. I'm here in every single universe in reality.
That's what your wife
watch
says.
Lost.
A constant pain in the ass.
Constant pain in the ass. Yes, I'm the same pain in the ass in every single life, in every single universe. I am. Wow.
Sorry,
did you know?
I've been watching a lot of roasts, so
Enough. That's a good one. That's a
Preparation
good one.
for this episode in particular.
Right. So I'm drinking gin and tonic because we need some alcohol to talk about stuff. Serious business tonight. What we're saying, yes, today's episode, or this morning's episode, is about mental health, as it is Mental Health Month in the US, I believe, and it is Mental Health Awareness in the UK, or Week Awareness, I believe, or you had something like that.
yeah, it's Mental Health Week in the UK. Topic is around loneliness and how to tackle loneliness, but like you say, it's a grand whole month over in the US, so we're covering all sorts of topics.
Yep. And as we are four old, apart from Dave, who is the young one in the group, older gentlemen, and we all been through different sort of troubles, not troubles, but life happened, right? And we all feel like it's a very important topic to address and discuss. So this is the mental health special episode, where we are lucky enough to have James with us, whose job happens to be related to that. So
Semi-connected,
but in some way, shape, or form, you're in it. Why don't you explain to everyone who's listening loosely what you do and how you relate to the topic?
Yeah, so my job title is health and safety advisor, but what I do on the side is a lot of mental health. So I'm part of the mental health committee for the company that I'll work with. So I help with making a lot of campaigns and topics and such. But I'm also a mental health first aider, which is a training course that I think pretty much everyone should be doing. It's a very heavy topic to go on to and learn, but fundamentally it teaches you the signs of mental health. So how to pick it up from other people, how to approach people and talking about mental health, as well as helping them guide them onto the next steps of like who should they talk to, what kind of professional, those type of things. So it doesn't make you an expert in mental health, but it gives you the guidance and knowledge of how to help others learn more about mental health and go through from there.
It's basically trying to help you understand your symptoms, seek out treatment maybe.
Those type of things.
Then making sure that you're not, suffering in silence, so to speak, or going through it alone.
Exactly. And I've had to do that with several people, and I still do it. I still message and I'll get updates from people that I work with that have got problems. And it was a little bit off topic. It was actually nice. Last week, I got a message from someone who left the business, but just said, by the way, just wanted to say thank you again for everything you did for me. So, it clearly works having this training, and and it's definitely a good thing to look up on if anyone's interested in doing.
Yeah, and I gotta say on that one, like just even the fact that it's called like mental health first aid, I feel we need more labels like that to destigmatize it, because it's like generally it's not that easy to just talk about it in that sense, which is like, yeah, it's just first aid. Like none of us are qualified therapists, but everybody could help with just first aid. I really
Exactly.
like that. I've never heard that before. It's really cool.
It's something we say a lot with Dave on the basketball podcast is physical injuries and pains are visible to everyone to see and to say, oh, look, I need to help that person. Clearly they can't, if you break your leg, you need help with opening the door, whatever. It's a lot harder to talk about. It's a lot harder to help somebody when it's something that's related to mental issues, because how do you help and how do you pick up on those somebody who's suffering, which is why it's important to talk, and which is why we'll drop I guess in the description somewhere in the podcast and on YouTube links to all the places you can reach out to get help, or if you think somebody needs that help. Obviously in the UK we've got the NHS, we've got what was the one, was it Mind Mental Health Foundations. If you like an app, you've got Headspace, Calm, which is one that was recommended to me. And I think, which one was the one, James, you recommended? Was Mate in Mind, I think it's.
Yeah, Mates in Mind. So that's another charity one. That's mainly based for men in different industries, often construction industries and such. But no, that one I definitely recommend for people to go to.
All right. So that said, let's move along with something that we all do, which is either watch TV or obviously being nerds, play video games and read books and do a lot of stuff apart from working all day. So what we thought we'll do is go through a couple of recommendations on things that we've enjoyed to kind of take our minds off things and help relax and just think about something completely different entirely. And that's what we'll do. If you have anything else to add before we go into that, yes?
Yeah, just one thing. Just pour out some gin and tonic for Sarah, the one missing host today. Just shout out to Sarah. Wish you were here. She actually came up with this topic, but unfortunately couldn't make it today. So just pouring one out for her.
And that's why I'm having gin and tonic. This is what we're going for. Yes. Right, let's proceed. Who would like to jump in and start and talk to us about something that was cool?
I'm not gonna give my thingies, but I did just want to jump in with some stats.
Go for it.
I don't know if you guys remember, it came out during the pandemic that gamers in general had said that gaming helps their mental health positively. There was a study done through Xbox research, and they found that 84% of respondents agreed that gaming had a positive effect on their mental health over the past year, and 71 said gaming helped them feel less isolated. And I think just playing online, whether that's well, it doesn't really matter what genre it is, but even if you're not playing the same game, but talking to people online, I think was a great way for people to connect throughout the pandemic. And that's something that I definitely took advantage of. While we couldn't go out, I couldn't work at the time, but I was never without a voice in my ear, either at home or online. So I think that is something that I wanted to just highlight.
Actually, in funny twist, we were talking about shooting games and stuff like that jokingly before we started, and like how one thing that actually helped me relax was going on the first person shooter and just abuse people. Anyway, during the pandemic, I used to play a lot of Call of Duty, Warzone, if you play that, and they had that CT. Like, we're not allowed to go outside, right? And funny enough, I used to spend a couple hours each day in Verdansk, which is the city, which is like, it technically is supposed to be in Ukraine, during a conflict between, I guess, Russia and Ukraine, what do you know? And because I spent so many hours on this in the evening playing with my friends, actually chatting with them and playing the game, it became a real place to me. Like I'm going out tonight, I'm going to that football stadium that isn't real. And it's weird because when they replace the map for something completely different, a tropical island, I'm now thinking, oh God, I miss that place, which is weird because it's not real. But that's how powerful it was, because I was there during the pandemic, and that was taking me outside. Basically, that was my mental health walk when you couldn't go out for a nice walk. It was like, yeah, I'm going into that part of the world. So it was a huge part of trying to coping with that experience. So that's quite, it is real.
And just to add to the point about like gamers feeling more connected and so forth, I think it's an interesting point to look at how different that is to social media, right? Which in theory you could say, I'm going onto social media to feel connected, but it's a different type of connection. And the interactions are so different that I think in gaming, I think the connection is a little more authentic, right? Because you're collaborating over like a shared goal or moment or place, to your point, Tom. And I think that there has to be something with that. So I'd love to see kind of the comparisons of like people hanging out a lot in social and still connecting with people versus people hanging out in games and making those connections with people, because I think they're deeper.
Yeah.
So I'll drop some information. So this is obviously everyone's different. Everyone's mind is different on how they interact and work and stuff. So gaming, yes, it's definitely 100% a positive around taking your mind off things. It can become an addiction. So you have to be very careful about what you're playing and how much you're playing it. But going off like everyone's talk about like the connecting and all that, then yes, 100%, that's helped massively through the pandemic. It's even like Tom was saying about shooters, there was I say it still is, a lead singer called M Shadows of Avenged Sevenfold. His drummer many years ago died, committed suicide. Now they're in a metal band. Usually, historically, for metal bands, they turn to drink and drugs to cope with loss like this. He actually turned to Modern Warfare 2 back in that day. And he's even stated like that game saved him from going down a really dangerous route. Yeah, he got addicted to that game, but he was talking to people. His mind was still interactive with things, because that's the beauty about gaming. You're thinking about what's happening. It could be problem solving involved, or like David was saying, there's teamwork involved and all that type of aspect. So it's getting your mind going constantly. Whilst social media is becoming more and more of a trap for people. So there's the instant scrolling, there's the constant looking for dopamine in your mind. This was a problem I've actually faced, where you're just constantly seeking for the next hit. It could be the next joke, it could be next bit of information that could be bad or good. So if there's something terrible that's happening in the world, you only got to be fed with terrible information, because that's what the news outlets and everything wants you to see. So that can affect your brain very, very negatively, you know. And obviously things like Instagram, for instance, that can be a good thing, but what you see is a lot of fake stuff and comparisons. Now, there's a big study around young women at the moment who get depression through looking at Instagram, because they're seeing all these beautiful women looking fantastic, slim, living their best lives. And that's what they're comparing themselves to. But in reality, there's the Photoshop, there's just like random places they're going to that isn't actually them. There's so much fakeness out there, but people don't know it's fake. They believe it's real because they make out it's real. So they look at themselves of, well, why aren't I like that? Why aren't I living that life? And then they get into a spiral of depression through that. So going back to the gaming side of things, you don't have that, because the game is generated and created in a way, and there's no way of really changing that. So you kind of know what you're getting into. And again, if you're playing as a team, then you have others chatting to you, working together and stuff. So you're not bombarded with loads of information, and you got a bit more, you know, prep involved, if that makes sense. So
no, it's I think there's something that as we go into recommendations that I want to make sure that everybody listening is very aware of, is that we're not recommending things to numb whatever you're going through, but it's actually to give yourself space to process, right? Because to your point, it's like anything can backfire in too much quantity, right? It's like you could have a really great interaction with someone on social, but if you get stuck on doom scrolling, then it goes negative. You could have really great game experience, but you get hooked on a game, then that could go in the wrong way as well, right? So it's just like the difference between numbing what you're going through and just giving your brain space to recover and come back and process. I think that's one of kind of the key themes.
Yeah,
100%.
definitely. And like I say, it's about getting the positive dopamine instead of the easy dopamine, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I think we've set it up brilliantly. So how do we start this? Shall we go with, actually, JC, you want to talk about? I know.
Always picking on the little guy.
I know. Yeah. Why don't you kick us off with something that you've enjoyed that was...
Totally. So I'll do one, and then we can do a round, and then we can everybody do their second, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, it's a funny one because I picked this show because, and this applies actually to two shows that I picked lately. So I'm gonna cheat and pick two shows because I picked both shows for the exact same reason. I was having a little bit of a hard time. There's been stuff happening in life that's been complicated, and normally I would have gravitated to shows like Station 11, Yellow Jackets, Severance, all shows that I know are great dramas that people are talking about right now. And I purposely said, like, I can't right now. Like, I just can't. I'm sure they're great shows, but anything that shows me like people being horrible to each other, that's why even like Squid Game, I kind of struggle with it a little bit, where it's like, as much as it was good, I'm like, this is just people being really brutal to each other. And I couldn't do it. Like, I see too much of that stuff in the news. So I kind of went, like, you know what? I just want something that's kind of like, and the thing is, I wanted to think of like kind of mindless and that I enjoy enough that I'm interested in, but I'm not really that into and can just take me out of this. So I ended up watching two shows that were, one, the main one I was going to talk about is Peacemaker. DC show. They came off the back of James Gunn's reboot of Suicide Squad, which is about basically the one character that I really could not have cared less about in that show, except for the fact that he was played by John Cena, who's actually kind of funny. And I thought, why are they making a whole thing out of him? Like, this is enough to kind of get my attention, but not enough that I care, because I really do not care about Peacemaker, the actual person. And what drew me in is that it is hysterically funny. It is very well written, as all James Gunn shows are. The soundtrack is awesome. Same James Gunn's trademark, right? Great songs of a genre that I could not care about. It's like B-level, like glam metal from the 80s. It's not even like the Bon Jovis and like Aerosmiths. It's like one level below those bands. And I'm like, I could not care less about these bands, but he pulls some really good songs. Not that I'm going to add him to Spotify anytime soon, but they work for the show really well. So the soundtrack was just somewhat comforting for some very odd reason. And then the show is really about this guy that comes across as like overcompensating in every possible way you could think of. Like he's really cocky, thinks that his powers are way better than they are. He doesn't really have any real superpowers outside of being really strong. And then his helmet is like his power thing that he does. But then it becomes about the fact that he is super lonely. Like, he has this one friend that he doesn't even acknowledge as his best friend, and his best friend is an eagle, which gets played for like these great jokes in the show. But it ends up being about his relationship with his dad, and about he's like constantly seeking approval from his dad, and his dad is a literal KKK grand wizard that he doesn't know about. And he's trying to get that connection with his dad, but at the same time trying to pull off a mission and like push away the people that are actually trying to be his friends. So it was just really nice because it made me laugh every week, but at the same time, it made me realize that like, we're all going through stuff. Like, we're all going through stuff. And that appreciation of it was just really, really nice. And I'll stop there. But the second one that I went into the same notion was our Flag Means Death, the new Taika Waititi show that's about pirates on HBO Max, which should not work in any way, shape, or form. This should be the dumbest show known to man. Same. I got drawn into the characters. realized that it was about mental health in so many ways and about isolation, about how we create these stories that isolate us, but really we're just looking for human connection. And so once again, I would highly recommend both. It's just for the same reason. They were dumb shows that I thought should not work, and they'd end up kind of teaching me a little lesson along the way, and enjoyed it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I can totally see why that is. Is it? Do you have to have seen the movie to enjoy the show?
No. Nope. You can walk in cold, because really it's just a retelling of the character. The character that's the point. He was such a pointless character in the movie, and that's by design in Suicide Squad. Most of those characters are actually pointless, except for like 2 or 3 actually have a development of their personality and a hero's journey and stuff. The rest are just expendable. Which you would find out in the first 10 minutes of the movie. There's a lot of expendable characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are, which is quite surprising and but fun. Anything else to add? Anyone? Questions? No. Maybe not.
I try and what was the pirate one called again?
Oh, Our Flag Means Death.
Yeah, because I've seen clips of it and I can't remember the name of the captain, but he's a
The
New
Gentleman
Zealand-
Pirate.
yeah, he's a New Zealand actor. He's amazing. I can't remember his name now.
That's Taika Waititi. He's playing Blackbeard.
No, it's not. Yeah. No, there's the actual captain who's like really posh.
The other. Yeah, actually, I don't know his name. But he's very good in it. He's very good.
Yeah, he's in Flight of the Conchords, which is like this comedy music.
Yes,
series.
Jermaine something.
That's it.
I think.
Yeah. Jermaine's one of the guys in the series. It's not him. I'll have to Google it, but yeah.
But it's a show that should not. I literally turned it on because I'm like, I feel like watching something dumb today, and I couldn't put it down. It's that darn good.
I'll give it a go because it's been on my list forever, and I never got around to watch it. But yeah, that sounds like a. How many episodes are there? Do you remember?
It's like 8 to 10, and they're all half an hour ones, so it's very doable. Very, very doable. And they get to the point. Like outside of the first episode where you're like, what is this about? They get to the point by the second or third, and it's a perfect mashup of like British and American humor. It meets somewhere in between, which I really appreciated as well.
Good. Yeah, you don't want that. Who should we go with next? I see Dave biting his lips, and I think he wants to talk. That means it's your turn.
We jump out there. Yeah, so I didn't have specific like pieces of art that I wanted to talk about, although I will mention pieces of art as examples of the themes that I wanted to mention. Kind of piggybacking off what JC just said, in situations where you're I don't know, struggling with something, going through something, I think sometimes you want to have content that is simple. First of all, very simple, but engaging to the point where you can get your mind off whatever you're thinking about, but not so engaging that it's a burden to have to concentrate on. And I think sports games come into that category. So when my dad passed away in 2016, but the hardest part was actually the last year of his life. He had dementia, which was brought on by Parkinson's disease. And as his condition deteriorated, my mental health deteriorated throughout the year prior to his death. And a lot of the times when I was going through my roughest moments and then things were getting me down, I would sort of use sports games as a way of getting my mind off things, but also not having to think too much about anything. Just to relieve the stress a little bit, boost my mood a little bit, and just do something that you can do, you can complete, you can win, and just sort of try to maintain a decent state of mind. So I think that year in particular, I was playing a lot of football games. And yeah, I think even to the point where when I found out he had passed, I was playing a game, getting ready to see what I was going to do that night. And then I continued to play those same games as we went through the process of planning the funeral and everything like that. And the funny thing about it is, normally or often when me personally, when I go through a rough patch, if I ever associate the rough patch with a piece of media, like a TV show or a film or a game or a piece of music, once I'm over it or past it, I'll normally struggle to go back to it. But that didn't happen in this case. So I think it must have just provided the perfect balance between escapism and just giving you that time to breathe, time to heal a little bit, or time to manage a little bit better.
Yeah, it's interesting that what you say about linking certain events in your life, right? Like especially when it's tragic or it's really hard, something that's really difficult to process with a piece of media. Because I don't know if it just happened to me, but I would like to find out if that was the same for you. There's a couple, it's more related with music maybe, where certain songs maybe were all the time on the radio, that was what you were listening to a lot at that time, and there's things that were happening in my life on certain occasions that like, no, I cannot listen to that piece of music anymore.
Yeah,
there are literally CDs, albums that I've put in a box somewhere, and I'm like, if I see them, if I hear one song, I'm like, nah.
takes you back.
Right? Yeah. So it's quite interesting that for you still managed to enjoy and play that game, even though it's, you managed to keep that separated, right? But I don't know where the difference come from. I mean, I guess it's very specific to.
Yeah, it just what you said, David, is actually once. First of all, it's really lovely story of like how you told that, and it describes a something that I don't know what it is, but a thought that has been explored a lot in the mental health world, which is flow, right? There's an entire book written about it, about how taking on tasks that are just hard enough to keep us engaged, but not hard enough to feel like it's over, like all encompassing, is a great way to like move our brain forward, right? And we talked about in the context of actual sporting athletes doing it. It's like, oh, when Jordan went crazy in that final game and like knocked down like 7 3-pointers in one half or whatever it may be. But it's also, we can apply it, you're purposefully applied it to a situation you knew that was a difficult situation of just like, this is hard enough that it's not gonna like put like, it's going to keep me engaged, but not hard enough that it's going to all of a sudden become the thing I'm thinking about, because I shouldn't be thinking about this clearly, but I want to have something to keep my brain engaged. And that is a release mechanism at the end of the day. And they keep studying like how we can, especially in schools, how we can get kids into that mode so they can process things that are happening to them in life and stuff. And it applies to adults as well, obviously.
Yeah. And go ahead.
So Karen.
And I think another area or another genre that can do that for you is games where you have to collect things, like collectathons, or even if, let's say it's a random open world game, it could be The Witcher, it could be Horizon, it could be Zelda. If you're not necessarily trying to progress the game forward and taking in all of these deep story beats, but you're I don't know, in Zelda you're saying, I'm going to go and collect 10 Korok seeds in the next however long, or in The Witcher, I'm just going to go and explore or visit these question marks on the map, and just doing the more mundane sides of open world games, I think can provide you with the same kind of balance between engagement and escape.
That's where it's very interesting. That's why I want, like, the whole point of this episode is very interesting to me, because I've seen people firsthand, like the way to cope with a bad time or going through tough patch, is to actually throw themselves into work, which is it's a coping mechanism as well, right? It's a way to handle things, and it depends also very much on your personality and how you describe yourself and how you see yourself and how you, how important your job is to you. But personally, and I'm not judging anyone who does that, but I always felt that doing that might be a bit counterproductive, because work isn't by definition something that is meant to be enjoyable, unless your job is something that is really enjoyable to yourself, right? It's something that either mega creative, or like you're a YouTuber or whatever, which also comes with a whole bunch of hardship. But what I'm saying is that, I've never heard anyone saying that in having a good outcome, like going through and being able. So I don't know if maybe that's something to consider, is like, just don't go there. Play a game, read a book, watch a movie. Don't go to work.
It all comes down to, I was going to say, it all comes down to, on the work side of things, if it's generating stress. If the work isn't generating stress and you feel like you're accomplishing something and it's building to something, and also if you're helping others, that's a big part of improving your own mental health, because you feel like you're doing more than normal, then definitely work can be a good thing. But again, it's the stress. And with work and stress, it's always good to have a little bit of stress just to keep you motivated. But if you go too much, that's when things go wrong.
Absolutely. Right. Anything else to add, Dave, on that? Shall we go with James? What are things? It's got some good stuff.
Okay. So similar to David, gaming has always been a good outlet for mental health. I stumbled across a brand new one. It came out probably last month, called Dorf Romantic. It's on Steam. It's not even that expensive. I think it's only like £10, or so like $13, $14. It's a city builder, but it's also a puzzle game. The whole thing here is that you get given these boards, pentagon shapes, and they get connected, and you have to do certain tasks in it. So there'd be like trees, connect an amount of trees, you'll get points, and if you get a certain amount of points, then you get some more boards generated. It's basically how long can you last, how many points can you keep getting, and it's all random generated. But the nice thing is that it's got some absolutely calming, relaxing music in the background. The visuals are nice, calm colors. So there's nothing bright. There's nothing too crazy going on. There's little aspects of things. So like if you're making a river, there's a little boat, just a calm little boat just going across. There's little towns with just quaint little town villages. And you unlock things along the way as well. So you feel like you're progressing a little bit as well. Like silly things like I recently unlocked a beaver dam, just just a random thing in it, but I got excited, and then the beavers start appearing in the game. I was like, oh, that's cute, that's nice. But it's a nice game that you can just jump in at any point, just chill out. You can waste a little bit of time, but it's still getting your brain thinking from the puzzle aspects of like, how do I get more points through the game? And again, it's visually pleasing. But yeah, it's just a nice, calm game that gets your brain thinking at the same time.
And that's available on Steam, you said?
Yeah, so that's on Steam. Like I say, it's not too expensive. Just come out. It's had some really crazy positive reviews. It's overwhelming positive reviews with 14,000, and it came out the 28th of April this year. So
wow.
Yeah. So quite a lot of high praise for this game for it only being out for a few weeks.
What's the name again?
It's Dorf Romantic.
Yeah,
I'll leave it in the chat.
Yeah, it made me think a little bit of I think it was called Mind Valley. That was that iPad game?
Yeah, it may be a little bit like that. Yeah, because yeah, there's little things like you get trains that go around, farms. There's all sorts of things. But yeah, like I say, you just unlock things as well, so you feel like you're getting that dopamine side of
Yeah.
things there. So yeah, no, like I say, really good chilled game to definitely play.
I feel like I've got the greatest segue into my section, which is talking about my chill game. So I went with, well, actually, I didn't play the game so much. I was watching my daughter playing a lot this winter. It's a game titled Unpacking, which is available on every single console you can think of. It's on Steam, it's on PC, it's on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever. So the settings of the game is very, very, very simple. So it's, as its title, Unpacking. You're moving houses, you're moving flats, houses, buildings, whatever, and you unpack your stuff. You've got 8 different. Well, first you start with a room, and then you move on to unpacking an entire house. But you've got 8 different levels. You start as a little girl unpacking her bedroom. So you've got your toys, you've got your books, you've got whatever things a 10-year-old girl would have. Once you've finished with that level, you move on to being a preteen, and then you move on to being a teenage girl. Then you move on to moving out. So you're off. I guess it's in the US. I think she's off to college, isn't it, JC, when you're moving out?
Yeah. Well, kind of, yeah.
Kind of, right. So she's gone. So now she's moving into a dorm. And then after that, it's moving in with friends. So you're now sharing a house. So you're starting to unpack your room and the kitchen. Then you go on to the next one, which is you moving in with your boyfriend. Then you buy a house. So you're getting married. And then you're packing the entire house. And then you start unpacking stuff for your kids. And then your kids move out, so you unpack them into a smaller flat where it's you and your husband. And then that's how the game ends. We don't want to go past that because that's supposed to be healthy. That said, the things I really liked in there, there's no timer, so you literally take your time. If you want to take 2 hours to unpack your bedroom, you take 2 hours to do it. So it's absolutely very relaxed. It's just literally you have a box, you click and drag your stuff, and you can put anything anywhere. So if you want to put all your toys on your bed, you can do that. If you want to put all your toys in a cupboard somewhere, you can do that. There's no obligations. There's no right or wrong way of doing things. You just literally go around first your bedroom and then the entire house, unpacking everything. Also, visually, it's very 16 bits, I guess, like Mega Drive looking, Super Nintendo looking video game. So it's all pixel art. But it's the colors are very easy on the eye, so it's not like a stressful environment. You see all this nice palette of colors. So it does look relaxing. But what did it for me was the soundtrack, which is absolutely so chill that I actually fell asleep a couple of times watching Emily play it. It's what you'd listen to maybe if you're having a yoga session, or if you're having like a meditation, meditating for an hour or something. That's the sort of music you'll get. And then again, there's very limited text on screen as well, which is really weird. So it doesn't explain what you're doing. The only thing it does, it gives you a year. So like you start in like 1988 or 1985 and you're 8. And then that's it. You're left to your own device and you unpack stuff. And then once you're done, I believe it's either you tell the game you're done, or I can't believe that. I think I was asleep when that was happening, but eventually it just switches over to the next period. I think it deserves. I think it got a lot of promotion when it came out, and it was highlighted to be really helpful for people that had anxiety and had issues also concentrating on things longer than 10-15 minutes. So it actually helps with your learning a skill, or maybe trying to push that skill, trying to help you get your mind into something for over than 10 minutes. So it's a really interesting game. It's really I think it's really cheap as well. I think it was about £10 as well. So
Yeah.
what was it, dollars?
Is it cross platform?
I believe it is. Yes, I
Yeah.
believe it is.
Yeah, it's on everything, into the Switch, PlayStation, Windows, Xbox, yeah, everything.
Yeah, it's actually free on Game Pass, because that's how I got to play it. I got a Game Pass on the Xbox, and that's how I saw it. It was on my list of suggestions, and I went, boom, let's go with that. Actually, that was my daughter's school is really pushing also with mental health awareness at school, and part of their talk, they actually talk about that game. So Emily knew about it when I was like, look, there's this little game that I downloaded if you want to give it a try. She's like, yeah, I know that. So she played it and she finished it, but she didn't beat it. It's like she finished the whole thing, but it was like a challenge of, yeah, I'm gonna beat that game. She after like 2 or 3 sessions, she was done. She's like, yeah, there you go, completed it, and you can start over and do different things. But she was so relaxed that week after playing that. So I guess it did the trick. I do also believe the soundtrack is available on Spotify if you want to listen to it. I believe it is. It was at the time she was playing it. I don't know if they're taking it away, or I don't think they would. Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting side of things. Just the fact that some of these games that we all mentioned have really relaxing soundtracks, because you can actually find that is the majority of what makes the game or the situation or whatever it is that you're consuming relaxing, right? You mentioned it, JC, with the TV show. Now I'm mentioning it on the games, and the fact that you can just then go and listen to the soundtrack on YouTube or wherever is available is also, I think, quite a boon, because there are certain games where I think just listening to the soundtrack alone would be enough to give you a lot of the benefits of and the mental health benefits of the relaxation, of the calmness that you get from playing the game.
Definitely. And just connecting to this as well, generally organizing is very good for your mental health. I don't know if you've ever been to your drawers, you've organized your socks, you've organized your underwear, and it's all neat and tidy and everything. And just seeing that could just de-stress you, having a messy environment around you can just bring anxiety and stress. So that's why this game has been so good for mental health, because it is clearing up, unpacking, or packing up and just relaxing through it. And it's things like Animal Crossing. That's been a massive one for mental health as well, because it's got the social aspect. You're creating things. It's got a nice music. It's very cute. Cute things are quite relaxing for people to see. So that's why there's a big connection to the mental health side of thing, of just like organizing, cleaning, and all those type of things that we don't usually like to do, but it definitely helps your mind.
Yeah,
I mean, in terms of soundtrack that does work for me, Minecraft is one that you can go on Spotify. You can go on Spotify and check it out. There's a few playlists with Minecraft music, because there's a ton of them. But that's extremely relaxing. That's done it for me. It's put me to sleep as well multiple times.
Persona 5 has a really it has almost like two different types. When they're fighting, obviously the music's much more upbeat and it's still really good. But whenever you're just like in school or just hanging around basically and talking to characters, there's a really relaxing set of songs that play in the background, and you can get those on YouTube in really good playlists.
Yeah, in the last 2 years, it's been the time where I've most listened to like lo-fi beats.
Yes, I was going to go to that. Yes,
Spotify rebate, like that's become like it to the point where like I'm pretty sure a few of them ranked in my end of year Spotify thing,
Right.
where I was like, I just listen to them so much, and it's interesting because it's gotten to a level where like our oldest child, Aiden, they're into it too, and there'll be mornings where I'm just like, everybody needs to chill Oh man. And Aiden will then bust out lo-fi beats and put it in the background so that all of us chill out. But the flip side of that, which is interesting, I was reading an article about it, about how it's spawned off the demand for those has spawned off an entire industry, in that there are now creators that are just creating music to get picked up by the algorithm for those playlists. Like they're not saying like, oh, this is my original music for my album. They're like, no, I'm just making music to feed into that algorithm so it gets picked up by Spotify or YouTube, or it may be, so it could be part of the lo-fi playlist because so many people listen to them now.
It's a massive thing. Yeah, even like this, I think Emily is doing the same. She's listening to lo-fi music pretty much all day long. But to the point now where you get I've seen some things on YouTube like Tupac or Biggie lo-fi version. You'll see like trash metal albums that are lo-fi, and it's become it's that big industry, but it's popped up during lockdown as well. Like Lo-Fi Girl became this massive thing. It's a big, it's a company now. They're selling mercs and they're selling ad space and stuff. So they are definitely now they have become a business, which is interesting. But yeah, that came from that need for people to listen to something that is not too, what's the word for it? Too intense. Maybe that's the word. But yeah, it's a good point. Lo-fi was going to be on my list. I thought about it. I don't know how nerdy that was, but
it can be, because there's a lot. Like I listen to a lot of gaming lo-fi music. Like when I'm working, I'm constantly listening to either Pokemon or Legend of Zelda lo-fi music, because that works so well together.
Legend of Zelda's a good one. Yeah.
There's a lo-fi Legend of Zelda on YouTube. You can listen to that.
Listen to it all the time.
Funny enough, so the biggest one is Lo-Fi Girl, which is the girl who's studying. You can see out the window. I learned something the other day that I actually found a little bit troubling. Not troubling, but I thought it was funny. The guy who did the drawing and who also kind of helped launch the channel on YouTube is from, I believe, Colombia, and was a student in my hometown. So actually that girl is a girl he met in my hometown, and outside is actually my hometown.
Wow.
So you check it out on Wikipedia. I don't know if it's mentioned there, but it's mentioned somewhere on another page.
That's cool.
Girl. So I was like, well, okay, there's a connection there. It's quite interesting. Because I always looked at that picture and I was like, this looks weirdly familiar. So it's a small world, but it's a good one. Right. Who wants to go? Round two, maybe shall we go, because I think we've gone we've done the main one. I think shall we go with like mentions, maybe like a quick round of things that we think can help in terms of needs, or things that help you out, personally. I think James has not talked enough and he needs to speak now. So James,
me? Okay. So I've been talking
on the
most.
spot.
On the spot.
Oh God, don't even say. Okay, so one of the other ones that I think is a very good one for mental health is obviously watching things that you used to enjoy as a kid or a teenager, just like as a happy period, because it brings back all those memories. So for me, it's the Studio Ghibli, or Ghibli, however you say it, series of films, and particularly because of how emotional they are. Now, I don't usually cry too much when it comes to like shows and films, but when it comes to those films, I get very, very emotional, and I do cry. And as men, there's a lot of stigma around not showing emotions and crying and all that type of stuff. It's all nonsense. We should all be showing our feelings just like everyone else should be. So having a good cry can help. It could help a lot, just releasing that emotion that way. So yeah, like I say, watching something that you remember as a kid that's got some emotion and just really feel it, really release it and stuff, I think it's a fantastic way for helping your mental health as well.
Fully agreed on the men aren't allowed cried part. It's such a thing. And I still can't watch the end of Endgame without crying. Sometimes I will go back and just watch it to make like just get a little emotional. I was like, on your left. I'm like, it gets me every time, every single freaking time.
I was going to say, if you want a Studio Ghibli film that will make you cry, it's Graveyard of the Fireflies.
Yes,
that is.
I've heard
that will just make you cry. The ending, I sobbed more than anything else. Yeah.
True story. That is true. Yeah, that's moving along to Dave brought memories. Are we going Dave? Are we going JC? Are we going Dave?
I don't mind.
JC. Oh, Dave, take it away.
To take it kind of in the opposite direction to that, rather than leaning into the emotion, just things that work as escapism. So I think whether it's a book which has a lot of world building in it, like a Lord of the Rings, a Harry Potter, whatever else, or a game that has a lot of a lot of backstory, a lot of lore, a lot of things to it, or just being in a different space, a different world. I think can help a lot in these situations where you just have the chance to get your mind off things. And I think a good example of that, of the latter more so, is Journey. So I don't know if you guys have played Journey. It's a very short indie game, which won a few Game of the Year awards in 2013, I think it was. And it doesn't have backstory or lore or anything else to it, but it's a very simple game where you play as a character. You don't know what's going on. You're just placed there. There's no words. There's no writing. But you just sort of find your way along this journey. And I think it's a really good example of something that you can just escape through for a very short period of time. I think the game lasts like an hour or two, maybe tops.
Yeah, it's about an hour, yeah.
And you can get help along the way. You later find out that actually the people that help you are real people that are also playing the game at the same time as you are in real time. And again, there's no dialogue, there's no writing. So those interactions are genuine interactions with little to no communication. So when you if someone, I think when I played it, someone showed me where one of the secrets was, and I just had to follow the person, but the person had to get me to do that without being able to communicate with me. And then people drop in and drop out. And it's a very simple game, but it's very good, I think, in engaging you and allowing you to just escape for a short period of time, but a significant period of time. And I think that's another area or theme that can help in these situations when you are feeling down. Bit of escapism.
I can hands down say Journey is a fantastic game. I only played it this year, and everything you said is just spot on. It's for a game that has no dialogue, it is so emotional, especially the ending. I won't spoil any of it, but it's there's one of those. It's kind of corny at times, but when people say, a game is art, Journey is one of those that it's art. It's just fantastic in so many levels. So yeah, hands down, definitely play Journey if you've not.
Yeah, I believe it was a free game on PlayStation Plus at some point. So if you're on PlayStation Plus, you can still download it if you've.
It was originally. Yeah. It is on Steam as well if anyone wants to pick it up on Steam.
Yeah.
And the look and color palette of it is really nice and calming, but also like really well designed.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful game. Like the way you slide around is just so smooth and chill.
Yeah.
I was gonna go with JC next, but because I want to bounce back on what Dave said, which I've added to my list just now. because he reminded me of something that happened to me that helped me deal with a bunch of stuff. That was like, we're talking, what are we now, 2022? Yeah, about 15 years ago, 14 years ago. And it might sound weird, but back 15 years ago, I was like, everything's shit. So really depressed and fed up with everything. But something that got me out of it was actually based in reality. And it's something I think I mentioned on this podcast before, which is the Long Way Down and the Long Way Round series. So it's Hugh McGregor and one of his friends on a bicycle going around the world, right? So they've done Long Way Around, Long Way Down, Long Way Up. Which obviously one is going from London to New York, long way around, northern Scotland, all the way to South Africa, long way down, and what's the southernmost point, I can't remember what it's called, in South America, all the way up to LA, I believe, or Alaska. But anyway, the original one, I think, was made in 2008, 2007-ish, where they did the around the world trip on motorbikes. And I was reading the books every day on my way to work and on my way to basically anywhere. But it took my mind off everything else, because I was living that adventures through what they wrote, through the book, and through the TV series that they've released. But also, I was planning my own little adventure, because I was like, okay, I could do something, obviously not on that full scale of what they've done, because obviously they've got a financial backing of sponsorship deals. Hugh McGregor's got a little bit of cash, so he could pay for a bunch of stuff to make the trip slightly easier, more comfortable. But that's beside the point. It helped me also trying to picture myself doing something in the long run. I still haven't done it though. It's still one of my life goal, which is hopefully what, I think I mentioned it to JC a long time ago, was like maybe doing East Coast to West Coast in the US by car, but not going the main cities, like going at the smallest towns in the US, like going places where tourists don't usually go. Might get shot, might get something, but that's okay. That's part of the fun. So
Part of the challenge,
so to speak.
Especially these days.
Especially these days in the US.
Easy to handle goals.
Easy to handle goals, right? But it's more of a figure of speech, right? Obviously, it's trying to see a different world in a way. And I know it's not really geeky, although you can geek out on the whole technical aspect of motorbikes and planning. But again, it's sort of also linking with what James was saying with unpacking and unboxing. Well, they were the episodes I loved the most, and the part in the books I enjoyed the most was them organizing everything. As in, like, where are we getting this? How much are we taking with us? Who should be coming with us? Where do we stop? How much should we drive for? What do we eat? Like this sort of basic needs on some levels. That was like, okay, actually, there's an adventure out there. There's things that we should be seeking out. There's things that you can create for yourself that can help out with literally getting you out of this bad funk or something, or helping you dealing with things that are going on. So yes, I didn't have it on my list originally. I completely forgot about it, but now it's true that talking about it, it had a massive impact on me, and like thinking, you know what, sometimes you're thinking you're too much into your own problems, and you can forget about other things that are out there. So it was a good reminder for me to say, you know what, if you plan something in the near future, in the long term, it might not happen now when you're 20 something, might happen when you're in your 30s, might happen in your 40s, maybe in your 50s, maybe when you're retired, you'll be able to do it. But it's still a goal, it's still something that is there for me to hopefully action one day. But yeah, that's it's slightly different. It's not as nerdy as the rest, but it's also
I beg to differ.
Well, go on.
Because you can look at that is Obi-Wan Kenobi on a motorcycle. So totally nerd adjacent. We will call it. I'm certifying it. It's in the pod.
He does mention Star Wars a couple of times on the trip, and he does some Jedi mind trick trying to go past border checks, but it doesn't work.
And if we're allowed to lie to the fans, we're recording this on May the 4th.
Yeah, right.
Ooh.
Totally. I'll just add a couple more things, and then I'll pass the baton to JC. I'll just put Minecraft in there again because I mentioned it already for the music, but then also for being completely stress-free. Tetris. That's a great way to actually. For me, it's relaxing. It gets stressful towards the end when it's getting.
I was going to say it's the most panicking game I've ever played.
Oh my god! I think it must help me with my with all these little things I have that I want to tidy everything up all the time. So like putting little boxes into little squares into little. Oh my god! It just it's the best thing ever.
And the music.
What else? And the music. Oh god, yeah, the music. I'm just on there. Yeah, and then what was the other one? Oh, the Tourists, which I mentioned before, which is visually beautiful and it makes you feel like you're on holiday, but there's a bit of a story behind it. That's the whole adventure again. And the last one was the Artful. What's it called? The Artful Escape, which is funkadelic with great music, great soundtrack, and absolutely crazy graphics. Absolutely love it. If you're not, and it's super cheap as well. It's about, again, 10, 15 pounds. So an easy one to go for. I'll stop talking and move it on. Pass it on to JC.
And just as a follow-up on that one, on the Long Way Up series, Long Way Up, Long Way Down, Long Way Around is all on Apple TV. And I feel like I need to watch it now because weirdly, I listened to a podcast this morning where someone else recommended the same thing. So definitely universe is talking to me here. So I'll leave with kind of two quick ones then. One I could go way deeper on, but I'm not going to. Speaking of universe, everything, everywhere, all at once. Everybody that's on our text feed thread has heard multiple times from me that I love this movie. It's the best thing ever since the bread was sliced in the caveman days. It's the best thing. The reason, now I can go into the reasons why I watched it from a nerdy perspective. I'll leave that for another show. The reason why I love this movie, and this is without spoiling anything, I'm hoping, is that it's a movie about multiverses, right? And one of the things that I loved about it is that it looks at multiverses from a different perspective in terms of what it means to see someone else that is you, but slightly different, right? And it kind of goes down this path of just like, well, it then doesn't mean anything, right? It's like literally every decision we take creates another multiverse, then the multiverses don't actually matter. So then like, what matters, right? And it comes back to a really core theme of just like, it's our connections to each other that matter. In a world where who we are and what we become does not matter, our connections are what matters. And I think more and more we saw that in the last 2 years. We're just like, yeah, we could have all had the best careers in the world and it didn't matter because we were still isolated. All we wanted was connection, right? So it was a nice reminder of that. That was really lovely. Like it's just the heart of the story is just so nice, but it's surrounded with all this weirdness, and it's definitely not a stress-free movie. To be clear, it is the pace of that movie is astoundingly crazy. It's nuts, but the ending and what it tries to claim is great. And even when telling you this, it does not spoil anything because there's so much to see and unpack in that movie. But the last thing I'll say is, and I've read this before, and I caught myself doing it, and it was not by design. And James, maybe this has come up in like the CPR training, and the first aid, mental health first aid training. But singing in a group is meant to be really good for your mental health. And I've heard this from multiple people, and they actively practice this in like the Scandinavian countries. I think it's whether it's Denmark or Sweden. This like it's actual part of culture of like singing in a group because they've realized that actually is very.
I was going to say it's the harmony that you're producing. So there's a few things. You're feeling connected with others. Yeah, which is a major thing for mental health. It's the contribution as well, that you feel like you're contributing to a greater thing. So that'd be the song, and it's also using various different muscles inside you as well through the singing and all those type of things. So yeah, no, 100% singing. People joke about it, but singing in the shower, just do it. If it makes you happy, who gives a crap who's around you? Just do it. Just, enjoy yourself and things like that. But yeah, no, 100%, you know, singing in a choir or anything like that can be a really good thing for your mental health. Just any kind of like teamwork, team building.
Yeah. So it came out randomly. Me and my kids, we like to watch Steven Universe together. And for anybody who watch Steven Universe, is actually have some very talented like people writing both their shows and their songs. Like it's a show I recommend to anyone. You don't have to be a kid. I started watching it because of my kids, but the themes it goes into are really interesting around mental health and connection and empathy. Really, really great. But the theme song is the catchiest thing in the world. So now we've watched now like 50 episodes together and they're all 10-minute episodes. So you get to hear, it's like in a half-hour sitting, you will hear the theme song 3 times. So all of us know the theme song by heart. And every single time the show starts, we will all sing the theme song together. And I never realized how happy that makes me. Like it makes me genuinely happy to sing that song with my kids. And we sing it at the top of our lungs. It's like my wife will walk by and go like, wait, what? and we'll catch ourselves doing it throughout the day. And that's when I realized, yeah, the power of singing someone in a group, there's something to it that just makes you feel great. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the science is, but I know that there's definitely a result.
If you want to make it extra,
Yeah.
add dancing.
Yeah.
Do the dancing.
Oh, yeah.
That is the icing on the cake. Just like get your body moving and just being silly, all those type of things. Yeah.
That dancing is the best.
Fully agreed.
Actually, talking about singing, that I've discovered this show that my son is watching. It's called Teen Titans Go, which is not Discovery, but it's been around for a long time. I think for 10 years now. I think.
Yeah.
But I discovered it like literally 2 weeks ago. There's a bunch of songs in there, including one which I would, if you can watch the episode where they start singing the nights begin to shine. It's very 80s. It's very rock. It's freaking awesome. So me and my son have been singing that. That we were just the two of us over the weekend, and we spent about over those 2 days at least a good 8 hours singing that song on the loop, which is absolutely amazing, and it creates memories and it's very fun. So the nights begin to shine by a band. I think it's a fake band called BER or something, whatever. Just look it up online. It's fun. But do go and watch that show because it's hilarious. It's so creative.
And
I don't know what
Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans, the movie, the Versus movie, is very good. Actually, check it out. It's our daughter's obsessed with Teen Titans Go, and the movie was actually really, really good.
I've got it somewhere stashed away, so I need to get to it. But yes, right. Anyone else got anything else to add to the list of recommendation? Or
I've just got a couple of things just to add. So, if you have any worry around social media for yourself or kids, there's a fantastic film on Netflix called The Social Dilemma.
Yes.
That 100% just watch that and learn from it. And if you feel like you're falling into that trap again, go back and watch it, and it will remind you of all the things that are bad about social media. I'm not saying that it's completely a terrible thing, because it is a beautiful thing at times. You know, I use social media to be here talking to you guys, you know, so it can be a fantastic thing, but it can also be a very dangerous thing. So watch that. That will help.
Is it a film or is it a documentary?
It's a documentary. They class it as a film. It's like an hour and a half. But yeah, it's a documentary with a guy from Facebook, I think it was, or Google or something. So he goes through a lot of things, and they play out scenarios that are very scary, relatable. So I definitely recommend watching that if you ever want to learn more about that to help your own mental health. And just a few key things for just general mental health. Like I say, it's a lot of it goes around dopamine, which is the positive natural drug that you generate in your bodies and your mind. Easy ones to do that is fitness. So going for runs, any kind of sport, like I say, dancing. It's just, you know, getting your body going, getting the blood flow going, all those type of things. It really helps generate your brain. I don't know if anyone does running and stuff, but at the end of like a workout or a run, you're just on a high. You're just on this natural high of energy and just all sorts of happiness just kind of bubbling through you. So that 100% recommend reading a book, just knowledge gaining, all those type of things, doing various different puzzles, you know, be it through games or a literal puzzle, anything like that. Just getting your brain thinking and keeping that active is a fantastic way to keep your mental health. And communicating with people, socializing, you know, that is another way of just, you know, helping mental health. Often you don't even need to be talking to people, just having people around you can really help you, because it can help against the isolation and all those type of things as well. And eating healthy, all those type of things, they all help. Routines, sticking to a good routine, keeping tidy, all those type of things. Easiest thing in the world to help mental health is when you get out of your bed, you make your bed. And I think every kind of trainer I've ever met in sports, in management, everything, any of those, even I think it's even in The Art of War, which is one of the best books to ever read if you want to be a good leader.
Yeah, it's used by the army.
Yeah, it says, make your bed. Even the army tell you to make your bed in the morning, because that is that's the first task that you can do in the day. If you complete that task, then you can go on to your next task to complete.
Yeah.
And that's a fundamental thing. That's a scientific proven fact of just simply making your bed in the morning will help your day massively.
An easy win.
It's an easy win, exactly. And then you get more wins from there on.
Yeah. The one thing I'll bounce on, I think is the one of where you say about don't kind of what you say is don't suffer alone, or don't hide anything. Well, not hiding, but you know, don't suffer alone, basically. And it's funny because if you think there's something that was in my therapy group, actually, they were like, if you're suspecting somebody you think they're not doing really well or something, the one question to get them to speak or to maybe unlock an entire situation is to ask, how are you? Just asking that, and then following the question, you can maybe judge, saying, oh, that wasn't entirely convincing, and then maybe go from there. But yeah, just asking somebody you think is struggling, how are you, could potentially help with an entire situation getting better.
But you don't ask just once, because
Exactly.
It's very easy for you to say, how are you? And say, yeah, I'm all right.
Which would be the default reply from everyone. Say, yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, but, it's a no. Seriously, how are you feeling? Yeah, and then you could spark up a. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of that? Is that affecting you at all? And they may just keep dismissing it, but as long as you're keeping it fairly open and you're leaving any conversation as just, you know, I'm around if you ever want to chat. You know, I'm here. You know, however way you want to contact me, I'm about if you need to. So at least that gives them an option, because you don't want to pressurize anyone.
Exactly.
You want it to be as relaxed as possible, and you just want to give them that opportunity. So they may not come to you straight away or even a week or so, but you'd be surprised how many people end up turning up and say, actually, hi, can we have a chat about something?
Yeah, that's very true.
I'll share one about that. I was in a situation where very recently that I was a caregiver for multiple people in my household. And so it's very demanding, right? Looking after people. And I had a random call from a friend of ours. And the first thing that she asked me was, wait, how are you doing? And it just shattered me. Like I began, like my eyes welled up, my throat closed up instantly, like all the emotion kind of came out, because it's just that one question of just like really looking at you and asking you, like, how are you doing, when it's very clear there's other people that need help, but also recognizing that the role played by a caregiver is important was just like very rarely in life to get asked that, and that was really huge.
And just piggybacking off that, is to check up on your strong friends.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time they'll be the ones that won't say anything.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Right, I think this is where we should leave it. So I will leave a bunch of links in the description of the podcast and the YouTube video. please, I think for me, speaking of experience, the hardest part was finding out who to speak to, like professionally. So I think that's the first good step to, if you can use those links below. All these people are there for your own benefit. They're here to help. They're professionally trained, so you'll know what they're doing is good for you. It certainly helped me, so if it worked on me, it can work on anyone. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Wait, hold on.
everyone.
You know what else helps? You know what else helps?
Alcohol.
Listening to podcasts like this one, as James put it earlier.
Oh yes.
Or listen to podcasts such as the Grit and Grind Basketball Podcast.
As well, yes.
When you can listen to me shit on every single team.
And sometimes going onto YouTube and typing in how to game differently and watching a stunning bloke talk about various dirty crap.
I recommend it. Like, share, subscribe.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for listening, everyone. And thank you for Dave, James, and JC for joining in. As I mentioned it before, you can find James on How to Game Differently on YouTube. You can see his beautiful face and his lovely voiceover work, which is actually freaking amazing because I'm jealous of that. But hey, it's quality. Good. It's quality. It is. It is. It's not that easy to do great video work. Also, you can find Dave talking about basketball what do we drop now? Wednesdays, Thursdays,
Tuesday night, Wednesday.
Tuesday night sometimes, because that's how I roll. Grit and Grind Basketball Podcast, that's available in all good shops. Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Sweden. Thank you also to JC, who you can find on this very podcast, because that's what we do. This was the mental health special. Well, no, just mental health episodes of Catching Up with the Nerds. We'll catch you next one. Oh, merch. Look at that. Bad boy. Plug my shit. Yeah. JC doesn't know.
I did not know this. Nice. Where are the royalties?
There's no merch, but that's just me doing stuff.
I need my cut.
Maybe I'll put a couple for sale, because we need to eat. Everybody's got to eat. I've got kids and they're expensive. Anyway, we'll catch you in the next episode. Do follow us on social media. What are we on? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, wherever. Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, Google Podcast, and everywhere else. OnlyFans, soon Podbean, yes. And that's now LinkedIn. I don't know why I keep plugging that one, but that's fun. Anyway, you all been wonderful. You have a great morning, afternoon, day, evening, night, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Thank you very much, everyone. Talk to you all later. Bye.
Peace out.
Toodaloo.